Hello, viewers. Thank you for watching BayMuslim Media. We are happy to have you here. BayMuslim Media, it's serving San Francisco Bay Area communities and beyond. And this channel started very recently, and since then we are doing a lot of programs in various fields. Today's program is something special, especially for parents and also the students, those who are in middle school and high school. I'm going to introduce you a beautiful couple of Bay Area brother Shahryar Abbasi and Sadia Saifuddin. Please join me to welcome our presenters, brother Shahryar Abbasi and then sister Sadia Saifuddin. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you for
How's
joining
everybody
here.
doing?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for joining, and I know both of you for mashallah long time, and we sincerely thank you for taking time and presenting the beautiful presentation, which is beneficial for the not only for the parents and also for the kids students, right? And before actually I hand it over to you, I have a couple of questions for you guys. So how long you have been doing this kind of presentation? If you could, maybe one of you can share with us.
Yeah, so we started this organization known as a Success Company about 7 years ago, and we've been focused on helping students and families navigate the high school and college admissions process since then. Thankfully, we've helped hundreds of students and families, and more broadly, thousands of individuals with this process so far.
All right. So, do you know how many presentations you would have done so far? 100, 200, 300?
The exact presentation is probably closer to in the close to 100 that we've done so far, and just kind of college missions topics, habit development topics, how to do well in high school, how to get into your dream college since we've launched. Yeah.
Very good. So I know that you have a lot to cover, and before I hand it over to you, I wanted to take this opportunity and sincerely thank the co-sponsors for this program. This program is actually brought by BayMuslim Media with partnering with the ICNA Bay Area. It's one of the grassroots organization in San Francisco Bay Area. They have been serving this in this community for last 30 plus years. And the second, our company it's a service company, and then they are also partnering with us, which is you guys. And Jazakallah khairan for doing that. And thank you very much for doing that. And then there are a couple of other organizations. It's NAIMA, North American Indian Muslim Association. And basically they are into connecting the peoples, especially the Indian minorities, those who are in need. They will raise their voice and concerns and things like that. They're also partnering with us, taking this program and sharing with their communities as well. And the last organization, but not least, is Jamal Mohamed College Alumni. Jamal Mohamed College, it's one of the renowned college, arts and science college in the southern part of India in Chennai, and they have very strong alumni association here. They are also partnering with us. So I want to take this opportunity and sincerely thank all of them for partnering with us and doing this such a wonderful program. I just wanted to take a minute and then tell you. So this is the presentation, and both Brother Shahryar and Sister Sadia is going to present to you guys. And definitely we will be spending quality time for Q&A. If you have any questions, concerns, and comments, you can use the comments section. And inshallah, definitely we will take all your questions, and whatever we could they could answer, they will answer it. And if you have more questions, definitely you can reach out to them directly later, and we will provide all the information during the presentation. So that's all I have. Without any further ado, once again, thank you again for Brother Shahryar and Sadia. I know you guys are going to rock. Stage is yours. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Milan Bhai. Really appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and get started. Bismillah. So we are going to be talking today about how to get into your dream college. And I think if we can just go ahead and share the screen, then we will dive into the content. Great. So as we were saying, we'll just go ahead and introduce ourselves in a little bit more detail. My name is Shahryar. I'm one of the co-founders of the Success Company. As I mentioned, we started this organization about 7 years ago. And really the story for us is when I was young, I moved here to the States from Pakistan when I was about 6 years old. So my parents didn't really know anything about the college admissions process, anything about high school, what are extracurricular activities, what's the SAT, what are AP classes. And so I had to find mentors and, just kind of figure that process out. And, thankfully, by the grace of God, was able to do that. When I graduated college, I said, hey, this is something that a lot of people in my local community are struggling with. And so decided to find a way to give back and offer just some free workshops to students and parents in my local community. And then, from there just kind of grew and spread. And we've been working with Nilam Bhai since those early days. And we're very grateful to kind of continue to be partnering. A little bit more about my background. I graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in business from the Haas School of Business, as well as a dual degree in Middle Eastern Studies. I've worked at a variety of different consulting firms, and I've done a variety of different jobs, including in consulting and in tech. And I'm very, very passionate about education and very passionate about mentoring. So very excited to be here with you all today.
Hi, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you all. My name is Sadia. I am so excited to be here. Thank you to BayMuslim Media and all of the co-sponsors for having us. Just a little bit about me. I'm the oldest of 5 children. My parents are from Pakistan. And so as the eldest, I had to navigate college admissions, and my parents were always really concerned about making sure that I was set up for success. And, the process to navigate college and what colleges are looking for, it's really, really confusing. And I found that there were many, many other parents who were wondering about all the same things that I had to experience when I was going through high school. So similar to Shahryar, we started doing these workshops to share our knowledge because we wanted our communities to go into the college admissions process feeling confident, understanding what was expected, and not feeling so stressed and anxious about the whole thing. So that's why we're here. A little bit more about me. I also graduated from UC Berkeley. I majored in social welfare. I worked in consulting and I worked in investing. After that, I worked for the University of California Investment Office and helped invest their endowment and their pension plan. And currently, I work as a product manager at Salesforce.org, where I help build software for recruiting and admissions. So I spent all of my time thinking about what do students need, how do we make the process easier for students who are applying, what do parents look for, and especially what are admissions committees and universities thinking about and looking for. And all of that research informs the work and the information that we'll be sharing with you today.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. All right, so we'll go ahead and just dive into an overview for today and just making sure that hopefully everybody's able to see our screen. There we go. Yeah. So just going to dive into an overview for today. So we're going to talk first about how universities are reacting to the pandemic. What has been the response to the pandemic? How is that going to impact your college admission cycle? Then we're going to be talking broadly about your college strategy. What is a college strategy and why is it important to have one? We'll then get into the specifics about the 3 to 4 main ingredients that colleges look for in their applicants, including academics and solid grades, including standardized tests, which are the SAT and the ACT, and extracurricular activities. And then we will dive into the college application process itself. What are the different dates that you have to know? What are the different applications that you have to know about? And then we'll have some time for questions. As you have questions, as Nilam Bhai said, please just post them in the chat and whatever platform you are following along on. We'll get to the questions at the end, but please post them as they come along, just so that you don't forget. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this unique situation. College admissions is already a stressful enough time for all of us, and it's stressful for students, it's stressful for parents, many times it's stressful for other family members because everybody's so curious about what kind of college we're going to get into. And COVID has made it even more stressful. So many of us are worried right now, specifically, in addition to the normal stress, about how do I even plan for college if I am in a situation with COVID and I can't take the SAT or I can't take AP exams? How do I build out my application if I can't go in person to clubs or go and do volunteer opportunities in person or go and engage in internships in person? What does that mean for my application? Does it mean I'm at a disadvantage? These are the questions many folks are asking. How do I focus in my classes if I'm so stressed, right? Oh, I have to do Zoom school all the time. Now I'm doing, watching another online webinar. What does this mean for me with regards to just being able to focus and compared to students before and the way their academics were structured? Am I at a disadvantage or how exactly is this going to work? So let's talk a little bit about that. We'll just go ahead and address that. So colleges are approaching this specific cycle with unprecedented flexibility. And that's something to keep in mind, that just like you, your family, and your peers are adapting to the times we're living in. We are adapting to COVID-19. We are adapting to quarantine. We're doing all the things that we hopefully need to do, and wearing masks and whatnot. Colleges are also adapting their process to the situation. They are going to approach this process, God willing, with unprecedented flexibility. So rest assured, you won't have to worry too much about the way this is going to impact college admissions. What does that mean tangibly? If you did not do as many extracurriculars, they're going to understand. But they want to see you are going out and looking for opportunities. If you have had impacts to your grades, they're going to understand. But they want to see why, and they want to see you explain it. And overall, they are looking for you to talk about how you adapted to the difficult circumstances. So now we'll talk a little bit about specifically, what colleges are looking for kind of in this environment of applicants. What they want to see is they want to see a human being who has potential. Yes, potential, not somebody who has all of it figured out. You do not have to have all the perfect grades, the perfect resume, the perfect, have found the cure to COVID while having a 5.0 and a perfect score on your grades and a perfect score on your standardized tests. That's not what they want to see. It's good if you have that, but they want to see the potential that a human being actually has shown through their experiences, that they have adapted to life circumstances, and that they have the potential to grow and the potential to make an impact once they graduate from high school and then eventually from college. And they regularly ask, this is one of the main reasons why the college essay in and of itself is so important. And we have one-on-one sessions and kind of one-on-one consulting that we do. We've helped probably edit thousands of essays at this point, where we help students talk about their story, talk about what they experienced in high school and how that is going to set them up for success in college. And not just in high school, but they experienced kind of before high school as well. And so that essay is really your chance to talk about your growth, to talk about your flexibility, and to talk about how you've adapted, whether it's in COVID or whether it's in any other situation. And what's most important right now is how you, if you're a student or if you're a parent, how your student responds to the impact. Have you been flexible? Have you been able to adjust? Are you still working hard? Are you finding creative opportunities to engage and help virtually, even if you can't do so in person? And what are you doing with the extra time that you have? That's a big question colleges are going to be asking. I would not be surprised if in a year from now, probably not in this immediate admission cycle, but in a year from now, if many colleges have a supplemental question just addressing how you responded to COVID-19, how it impacted your experience in one way or another, because this has been kind of a global thing that everybody has faced, everybody has experienced together. So you might have one student who's using their extra time to start some virtual volunteering drive or find ways to get money to donate for PPE and healthcare equipment, or find ways to help out people in their community with whatever they're struggling with. Or you'll have another student in the same class who might use that extra time to just kind of chill, watch some Netflix, scroll on TikTok, scroll on Instagram, scroll on Snapchat, and not necessarily use that time wisely. There will be a big difference in terms of how that reflects on your college application. So keep that in mind. And we actually stress this a lot in our courses and in our coaching and everything it is that we do. The importance of habits, the importance of time management, and the importance of discipline. Because successful college admissions and successful students overall they have built their success on strong habits and strong foundations. And so it's okay if you might, engage in a little bit of fun activity and whatnot here and there. You're scrolling on social media, we're bored. That's all normal in the times that we're living in. However, it's important to also carve out time to think about ways to give back, to think about ways to find opportunities to do so virtually, and to think about ways to still grow yourself and engage in personal development, even if you don't have all the opportunities afforded to students that before COVID-19.
So I'm going to dive in and talk a little bit about the actual college application process. And this is relevant for you whether you are in 7th grade or whether you are in high school. And the reason I state that, and we get this question from parents that want to work with us all the time, is, am I too early in the process, right? Like, my students in 9th grade, is this too early to be thinking about college admissions? And it absolutely is not. Why? Because you have to understand what is expected of you in order for you to be able to plan effectively. So that's one thing I want all of you to keep in mind, to think about college admissions as something that you start working on when you are in middle school, from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. That is the most effective way to think about getting into your dream college. And so we have students we've worked with that are in 8th grade. We have students that come to us in 11th grade. And the students who come to us earlier in their journey have a lot more of an opportunity to be able to influence the outcome of getting into the school that they'd like to get into. So let's talk about what's expected. College admissions are really based on a couple of core fundamentals. They are based on your academic performance, so your grades, your GPA, the classes that you've taken, whether you've challenged yourself. They're based on standardized test scores, and there's a caveat here, but your standardized tests include your SAT, your ACT, and subject tests. This has changed a little bit in the time that we are living in because we're living through the pandemic. So some schools, like the University of California and the Cal State system, have said, okay, no SATs until 2024. But then there are other school systems throughout the country, many private schools, that are still requiring standardized tests. So it's still important to think about this, especially if you're early on in your journey, because this is kind of one of those situations that's consistently changing. Then colleges look for your extracurriculars. They're looking to see, have you taken leadership activities that are challenging, that are unique, that show that you have a passion or curiosity about something. And we'll dive into what those could look like for you. And then lastly, it's really based on your college application essays. So what are those? Those are your personal statements. Those are the essays that you have to write. If you're applying to UCs, you have to write 4. If you're applying to private schools, you'd be writing anywhere from 1 to 30 to 50 essays. We've seen all of that, right? So these are the core components, and all of the work that you should be doing in high school and in middle school should really be preparing you to be able to nail every single one of those fundamentals. So let's dive into what that could look like.
All right, so step 1, it's all about strategy and planning. Very, very important. There's a famous quote by Ben Franklin where he says that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Planning is so important in anything it is that we do. So when you are in 8th grade or 9th grade or 10th grade, and especially if you're in 11th grade, it's very important to start planning out your high school experience and what you want to set your sights on with regards to college admissions. And if you think about this, as human beings, many times we plan so many things. If we have like a birthday, we'll plan, a detailed birthday party. We'll know who to invite. We'll know what we're going to make. We'll know what kind of fun activities we want to do. If we have a trip that's coming up, and many of us aren't taking trips right now, but when those resume, we will plan out where we're going. We'll plan out the itinerary. We'll plan out the different things we're going to do during the day, maybe even the different foods that we're going to eat, right? We are so focused on planning when it comes to things that are fun for us. How many of us, though, still focus on planning for some of the more arduous tasks that we have to do in life, such as go through high school and college? It's very important to plan, and it's very important to have a strategy. So a couple of things to keep in mind. First is start looking at schools early on. If you are a freshman or 8th or 10th grade, start thinking about, or even in your first year of community college, think about, what schools do I want to go to? What colleges do I want to apply to? What do I care about with regards to the college that I eventually end up going to? A couple of tips here. First, do not just look at rankings and then base your list on rankings. That's something we see done very, very often. It's like, oh, let me just go to, US News and look at all the different top rankings, and then I'm just going to apply to all the top schools. That's a fine way to do it, but that's not the way we would recommend you do it, because you should have a unique list crafted to your experience and based on what you want to get out of college. How do you start doing that? The second step is identify the culture and values that are important to you in your college that you are going to end up going to. Some colleges are very, very focused on specific types of majors, specific types of students. Some colleges have much more of a welcoming environment for minority students. Other colleges, not so much, right? Think about, what do I want to get out of my college experience? Because remember, in most scenarios, non-COVID at the very least, you are living in that area for 4 years. You are engaging with people there. You are learning from them. You will learn more outside of the classroom in a good college experience than you will inside the classroom, because of the activities you're engaging in, the people you're interacting with, the different environment that's been set up. However, if you have a bad college experience because you did not do the research, or you did not kind of come up with the college based on what you were interested in, then that will also impact you negatively, and you'll just be waiting for that, the experience to finish and to get out of college. So think about what you want to get out of your college experience. And really, this is important because many of the families we work with, the parents have come, let's say, from the subcontinent or from an immigrant background. And back home, the college admissions process is very much based on grades. It's about grades, it's about your marks, and it's about your performance, and then it's about rankings. That's not the way it works, though, in the US. The way it works in most of the Western countries is it's about actually the culture and values you care about, the experiences you want to see in college, and the human being you will become when you leave college. It's very, very important, because education is about a lot more than grades and a diploma. It's about actually cultivating a human being who's going to be able to give back. Other thing to think about is, what do you want to major in and what do you want to study, right? So many students want to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. What does it mean to be pre-med? What is that, right? Research that. We work in our one-on-one with students. We come up with, we teach them all of these different aspects. In our courses, we teach students what are the different majors that you need to think about, and how do you come up with a plan for those majors. Pre-med, just for an example, is not a major. Pre-med means that you're intending to do medicine. However, you can major in whatever you want, and as long as you complete the requirements that a medical school has, you will be good to go, right? God willing. So that's something to keep in mind, right? And then also think about the way you come up with your strategy based on a couple of different career options. Do not narrow yourself in. So if like, oh, you're 100% sure you want to become a doctor. Well, is it you who's 100% sure? Or your parents are 100% sure and they want you to do that, right? So that's, challenge yourself in these things, because this is your lifelong career you're thinking about most of the time, right? So really be open-minded to going into college, immersing yourself in opportunities, and then coming out and saying, oh, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to become after this type of experience. And that's why the strategy is so important. You can do this research in a couple of ways. You can Google different things about colleges. You can watch YouTube videos about different colleges. You can learn about, read reviews about different colleges. And then, of course, the best is you can actually go and visit the college when it's safe to do so, and talk to students on the campus and see the vibe that you get. So once you've done that, you've come up with your strategy and you've come up with your plan. And in our work we do with students, we literally do this with them. We help them come up with their entire college strategy and then their entire college plan. Then it's about your grades. Grades are very, very important. They're not everything, but they are important. So your academic roadmap is the next step. It's your GPA, your grade point average, and your grades will have a major factor in your college admissions. So an academic roadmap means 2 or 3 things. First, it means choosing the classes you are going to take over the course of a couple of years, and knowing, what am I going to take in 9th grade? What am I going to take in 10th grade? What am I going to take in 11th grade? What am I going to take in 12th grade? And how are the classes I'm selecting in 9th grade going to impact what I learn in 10th grade? So that's what a strategy is. A strategy is somebody who is saying, how does this step affect the following 2 or 3 steps, right? Versus somebody who just does things as they come up. That's operating without a strategy and operating without a plan. So you come up with that list of classes and you come up with that roadmap. Then you start thinking, okay, well, what kind of classes do I want to take? You usually have 3 options of classes. You have what are called regular classes, honors classes, and advanced placement or AP classes. Regular classes are English, history, math, science, or the basic stuff. Honors will be like, okay, honors English, honors geometry, honors algebra, honors chemistry, and so on and so forth. And then AP classes will be like AP US history, AP literature, AP Spanish, AP environmental science, AP chemistry, and so on and so forth. The last 2 buckets, honors and AP, increase the weight of your GPA. Your GPA in most US schools, the standard GPA is at a 4.0. The way calculated for a regular class is an A is a 4, a B is a 3, a C is a 2, and so on and so forth. So you get all Bs, you get a 3.0. You get half A's, half B's, you get a 3.5. But for AP classes, you get an extra weightage point, or in honors and AP classes, you get extra weightage points. So if you get all A's in AP and honors, you get a 5.0. And if you get all A's and half B's, but you're taking all honors in AP, you get a 4.5, right? So there's different ways to come up with, okay, what are my target GPA and how am I going to come up with a strategy? And the best schools in the US, schools like the Stanfords of the world, UCLA's of the world, UC Berkeley's and other types of schools, they're looking for 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 level GPAs. A 4.0 in and of itself generally won't cut it. So now you have to come up with what is your strategy going to be? How am I going to take AP and honors classes? But at the same time, I have to balance my load. If you take all AP and honors or too many of them, you might struggle because they're very intense. So you might end up actually doing worse. And it's worse to get a B in a weighted class than an A in a regular class. So these are different things to keep in mind. And when we work with our students and when we in our courses, we also talk about this in detail and again, help students come up with this detailed academic roadmap. The next thing is make sure you are meeting your entire A through G requirements, especially if you're homeschooled or you're taking community college courses. And lastly, if you are struggling within a specific semester, you just have to make sure that you are improving. You have to be on what's called an upward trajectory. You struggled in 9th grade, you should be improving in 10th, 11th, and so on. You do not want to be going down and declining. So hopefully you can come up with your academic roadmap accordingly.
One thing to note about the academic roadmap that's really important to think about, particularly for those of you that are applying to college before 2024, is that because the SAT requirement for many schools has been waived, and again, make sure you check to see that the schools you want to apply to have waived this requirement, most schools are indexing much more on your essays and your grades. So now you have all this extra time because you don't have to worry about the SAT or the ACT. You should really be redirecting that time into making sure that your grades and your essays are absolutely stellar. So that's what that means, that your grades always mattered a lot, but now they matter even more than they did before.
Standardized tests, right? And here it's a similar strategy. It's about planning at the beginning. You have to come up with a plan. If you were in 8th or 9th grade or 10th, what am I going to do for the next couple of years with regards to preparing for my SAT or my ACT? These are not about the specifics. This here, what you're seeing on the slide, is a general framework for you to keep in mind. The important thing is when you get into 9th grade or late 8th grade, you order an SAT prep book or an ACT prep book. You can do this on Amazon. A couple of different brands that are good, like Princeton Review, Kaplan, Barron's. They have various test books available for you. Then you start doing a certain amount of practice from those books every single day. So 5 pages a day, 10 pages a day, or 10 pages a week, depending on how early you are on in your journey. The formula here is to increase the number of pages you do in your book every single week until you're at a point where you are learning a lot consistently. Because the way cognitive science works is that you have to study consistently in order for something to actually stick. You cannot just cram it all in a couple of months and expect it to actually work out when it comes to the test day. Then you get into 10th grade and you increase the number of hours you're spending studying, and then you add in practice tests. So you take actual practice tests. These tests are 4 hours long. So you have to actually carve out time on a weekend, like wake up at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever it is, and take a test up until 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, right? So carve out that time because you will get used to the actual test setting as well if you do it in a 4-hour block. The goal is, okay, maybe in 10th grade, you're doing 1 test every 2 weeks. You can eventually increase it to 1 test a week, right? And then slowly, by the time junior year comes along and as you get closer and closer to taking the test, you start taking 1 test every other day, practice test, right? For the students who want to really do well in the SAT and ACT and they want to avoid doing some of these like insanely priced courses, which are fine for some students, but I would not recommend them for most. You can study for the SAT and ACT completely on your own without having to pay, thousands of dollars for someone to just kind of teach you the discipline in order to do so. But it requires the discipline, right? So if you need that discipline, the SAT, ACT prep courses are an interesting idea. But once you do this consistently, you should have 40 to 50 practice tests under your belt by the time you are taking the SAT or ACT. That's right, 40 to 50 at least under your belt before you take the SAT or ACT. And that should have been done over the course of a couple of years, ideally. Then you actually take the test and you give yourself time, whether you're taking it in late 10th grade or 11th grade, Then you give yourself time in early 12th, let's say, to repeat the SAT or the ACT if you need to. And the SAT and ACT, just because we get this in questions, they are very, very much similar styles of tests, and you can take either or, but just pick one. Take a practice test in each in the beginning of your journey, see which one you like more, pick one, and then stick to it. Do not waste your time doing both, and don't waste too much time trying to figure out which one you should take.
All right, we're going to talk about the juicy stuff, which is extracurriculars and leadership. So Shahryar mentioned this earlier, but in American universities and many other universities throughout the West, your extracurriculars and the learning that you do outside of the classroom matters. So this is really something that everybody should be taking really seriously. Now, what is an extracurricular? This is any activity that you do outside of the classroom that is supposed to be for enrichment. It includes any type of service that you do for your community, any volunteer work, if you're in any clubs or any community associations, right? That counts. It can also be whether you work yourself. Maybe you have to support your family. I did when I was in high school and in college. That also counts as extracurricular. So if you have a job, doesn't matter what job, that counts. And if you start your own project or your own program or company or business, whatever, that also counts as an extracurricular. So let's talk about some of the broad themes that colleges are looking for. The first is that there is no one extracurricular that is the best fit for every single person. So this is especially to you parents. You know, if you want to enroll your kid in a coding camp, or you want to put them in speech and debate and they try it and they really don't like it, that's okay. There's no such thing as one extracurricular that every single college will say, yes, for sure. If this person is in speech and debate, we definitely want them at our school. That's not how it works. So what do they care about? Your extracurriculars should really reflect your personality, your values, and your goals. So this means that you need to do some deep analysis of what matters to you. What are skills that you'd like to develop? What are intrinsic parts of your personality that you want to use, that you want to really nurture, right? And those are the extracurriculars that you should align the values to, right? So for example, say you are a more shy person and you really want to work on your public speaking skills. In that scenario, public speaking classes or speech and debate is a great opportunity. Maybe it's really important for you to practice anti-racism. So you start volunteering for the Black Lives Matter movement, or you start working on anti-racism policies in your community. Maybe you really care about housing and homelessness. And you live in a community that, you know, homelessness is a big problem. Maybe you start working on that. So think about what are the things that matter to you. And that's going to be different for everybody. So that's the first piece. Colleges are also looking to see that you're committed to these activities. So it's not about numbers. It's not about, oh, I only have 3 activities and my friend has 10. Likelihood is if you have too many things going on, you're not fully committed to any one. So colleges don't care about quantity, they care about quality. And how do you demonstrate quality? You demonstrate quality and commitment by growing in that organization or that activity. So what does this look like? This might mean that you join a club as a member your freshman year, and then the next year you volunteer as a secretary or treasurer, and then in your junior year you become the vice president or the club president, and then in your senior year you are a club advisor. So think about how can I actually grow within an activity versus let me do a little bit of this here, a little bit of that here, you know, volunteer at 10 or 15 different organizations. That's not what colleges look for. They want to look to see, do you have a theme for the work that you are doing outside of the classroom? And how do all of the different activities you're doing, how do they connect together? What's the story you're trying to tell? So that's something to keep in mind. They also want unique experiences. So say, for example, you don't really have time to do club activities because you're a working student. That's perfectly okay. You talk about that experience. You talk about the professionalism that you learned, about the ways in which you've supported your family. That's a unique experience. Maybe you spent a summer abroad. Maybe you spent a summer in India or in Jordan or anywhere in Africa. Maybe you went to visit your family. Talk about those experiences. I have many students that I've worked with one-on-one that have talked about their volunteering at a hospital in a rural part of their family's village in India, for example. That's a really compelling and interesting story. So when the coronavirus gets better and when and if you all travel, try to use your travel also as a learning opportunity versus just a time to vacation. Like I mentioned, they're looking for passionate involvement. So they don't want people who are just doing it to get a name on their resume. They want people who genuinely care, and colleges know when you genuinely care. You can't fake it. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. And then lastly, your extracurriculars should really try to harness the intellectual curiosity that you have. So say you want to learn more about psychology, or say you want to learn more about urban development. Choose extracurriculars that will help you explore those interests, and then that is the perfect opportunity for you to talk about what your interests are in your essays. So that's a little bit about extracurriculars. Let's transition and talk now about the actual college application process. So today we're going to cover two systems of college applications. One, which is the University of California, very, very popular. We have students who apply to the UC that live in California, that don't live in California, because the University of California is one of the best public education research institutions in the entire world, and highly competitive. And many of our students have attended UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC Davis, and have gone on to get wonderful jobs in the Bay and internationally as well. So what is the UC application? It is one application. It goes to all 9 undergraduate schools. I say 9 because there are a total of 10 universities in the system, and one of those is only a graduate school. UCSF is just for graduate education. So if you are applying to college for your bachelor's, there are 9 schools you can choose from. You complete one application. It is due on November 30th. So if you are a junior right now, then this is something that you should start to think and plan for. The SAT and the ACT is required in non-COVID times. So say you're in 7th or 8th grade, I would measure to see when you're graduating. If you're graduating after 2024, this is definitely something you should be planning for. And then if you plan on majoring in computer science or engineering, like many of our students do, it is a highly popular major. You will also be required to take what are called the subject tests. Now, the SAT subject tests are tests that are just on one particular topic. So it's just on math, or just on physics, or just chemistry, and you can choose 2, a math or a science. If you go on their website, you will see that they say it is not required, but it is preferred. But I tell every single student I work with that you absolutely must take this test, because the UCs and their computer science programs are very competitive, very tough to get into. So you don't want to be that student that doesn't have this, on their plate. So again, if you're applying this year, you don't have to worry about it. But in the future, it is something you should be planning for. The actual application is an opportunity for you to share your information, your family's information, and then also you will be asked to provide a full list of the classes you've taken, the activities that you have done, any jobs that you've done, any honors or awards you've received. And this is not the kind of thing that you can just do on an afternoon. These are all very strategic. So I want all of you, as you fill out the application, to be thinking about, how do I talk about my activities to best showcase everything that I've accomplished? So don't skip over this. It's an important part. And then last, but definitely not least, there is an essay component to the UC application. What is it? It is a total of 8 questions. And from those 8 questions, you choose 4 questions that you are going to respond to. These questions ask things like, tell us about your leadership experience. How have you made your community a better place? What's a talent or skill that you're very, very proud of, and how did you develop it? What's your creative side? So they're asking questions about who you are as a person. And so that's why it's really important to do all of the things that we talked about before: your mindset, your habits, your grades, your extracurriculars, because that is what will feed into answering these questions. These questions are also limited to 350 words each. So what does that mean? That means these are short essays, but they are not essays that are easy to write. So don't let that fool you. These are actually essays that our students work on from June all the way to November. So just think about that. Even though it seems like not that much writing, it's a lot of work to fit all of the wonderful, interesting, unique work you have done into 350 words. And we work with students one-on-one to be able to complete their essays. So if this is where you're at in your journey, definitely feel free to contact us. We'd be happy to chat with you about your application. So that's the University of California. Let's go to the next slide and talk about the common application.
Just one thing to add for the University of California application. So this is similar to, let's say you're in Texas, it'll be very similar to the University of Texas system, right? or if you're in certain East Coast schools, it'll be very similar to, let's say you're in New Jersey, to certain public school applications. So regardless of where you are, the goal for this section is to really just help you understand the different ways that some of the systems work, and then you can cross apply that across across various other ones. They'll have similar types of essay questions, a similar approach where you do one application, you submit it out to those different schools.
So let's take a look at the Common Application now. What is the Common Application? The Common Application is one universal application that goes to the majority of schools throughout the US. So whether you are applying to schools in California or in Texas or in Jersey or Chicago, there are most universities, and especially most private universities, use the Common Application. So it's one application. It goes to all of the schools that you apply to. What you do is you create an account on commonapp.org, and then you can go ahead and search the schools that you're interested in applying to. So say you want to apply to MIT or Stanford, or you want to apply to, University of Chicago, whatever it might be, right? Those are just some schools that come to mind. You search them, you add them, and then your Common App will tell you, okay, these schools also have these additional requirements. And so that's something to think about, that schools have extra requirements on top of what's already in the Common App. But the biggest part of the actual Common Application itself is the Common App personal essay. And that is a single long essay. It's 650 words, so around double the size of the UC essay. And you can choose the prompt again. There are 7 prompts that you can choose from. You can choose one. And you can really spend a lot of time thinking about what story do you want to tell. This is the essay that will go to every single school that you apply to. So make sure that you spend time thinking about this. And then the other thing to plan for is that many private schools and some public schools also use the Common Application, will have additional essays that they need you to write. So you're not just writing one essay for the Common App. Sometimes you're writing up to 50 essays. Some of them are short, some of them are long, but it is the kind of thing that requires you to think about it as soon as you're done with school, juniors. As soon as you're done, take a week and then dive into thinking about your college applications if you are not already thinking about them right now. Again, this is something we help all of our students with. We have writing coaches that are very experienced in helping you throughout this process, helping you write really good essays. So make sure that you are investing the time to research and spending a lot of time thinking about this. So just to round it out, a few things for everybody to remember, because it can be a very stressful experience and we don't want it to be stressful for you. You can make this less stressful for yourself if you make sure that you plan and prepare accordingly. This is really, really important. Why? Because if you have a plan, if you understand what is expected of you, then you're actually able to perform really well. So that's the first thing to remember. The second is that it is important to find balance between your academic, your personal life. We are living through an unprecedented, very difficult time. Many of us might have lost family members. We might have lost our jobs, right? We might be homeschooling our children while we're working full time. It is a very stressful process for parents and for students. So make sure that you have grace for yourself and be able to find the balance between making sure that you're prepared for college and also having a healthy mindset that this is one part of your journey that you can put in the work, and then hopefully, God willing, there will be a good result. The third thing to remember is that there are a ton of resources out there for you, and sometimes that can even be overwhelming itself, right? So maybe you're not really sure what to believe. You're finding like conflicting information online, on the college boards. So just remember, there are a lot of resources. We're trying to streamline all of this information, which is why we're doing this webinar today. But also, we share a ton of free information. You can find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and we're on TikTok as well too. We're really, really committed to making sure we can share as much information with you all as possible. So definitely reach out if you have questions, and we'll get into the Q&A in a little bit, but you can find a lot of information on our platforms. And then of course, I'm sharing my email address here on the screen. It's sadia@successcompany.co. And then that is, you can always reach out to me if you have specific questions as well. So with that, we want to tell you a little bit about our latest project and our latest course, which is called Dream College. Now, we've been talking to you guys this whole time about students we've worked with one-on-one. We've been doing this for a very, very long period of time, and we have a deep understanding of what does it take to get into schools, and what are the pain points and the areas that our students really need to focus on. So we've created a course, and we are really, really excited about this because we think that it will give you everything that you need in order for you to get into your dream school. So our course, it's called Dream College. I'd love to tell you a little bit about it. It's an 8-week live coaching course. So this means that you will be getting taught by Shahryar and I live every week. We have 8 weeks worth of content. We have modules, and we are going to be taking you through the curriculum. So we will be taking you through all of the academic questions that you might have. How do you choose the classes that you would like to be enrolling in that will position you for success? We'll talk about the mindset and the habits that you need to be successful. We'll talk about what colleges you are planning on getting into. What's your strategy? How do you create that reach, match, and safety list of schools to apply to? How do you find extracurriculars? How do you find internships to apply to, or summer programs that you apply to? Some of our students have done really interesting programs. They've done programs where they've interned with NASA. They have done really interesting research with professors. They have done data-driven and computer science programs that have really made them stand out. And so that's the kind of information we want to be sharing with you. We will help you think about how do you prepare for writing compelling and memorable college essays. Now, remember, your grades and your essays matter a lot for people who are applying right now because the SAT requirement is waived. So we have a ton of experience working on essays. We're super excited to share that with you. And then, most importantly, how does all of this come together? So beyond college, right? Like, say you get into college, now you have to navigate majors. You have to navigate professional opportunities. We do a lot of job coaching. So we have an idea of the different types of careers that are available for you. If you want to go into engineering, what is available? If you want to go into data management or trust and security, maybe you are a creative and you want to be an artist. Maybe you want to be a writer. We will work with you to figure out what are the steps that you need to take in order for you to have that dream job as well too, because all of that work starts right now. So Shahryar will talk a little bit about all of the very specific, tangible things that will come out for everybody who enrolls in Dream College. Here are the list of the things that every single student will walk away with.
So a couple of things that you'll walk away with in this course. First is we will actually work with you to develop your personal academic roadmap. So you will walk away with a roadmap of all the different classes that you need to be taking, what your strategy should be for those classes, what AP classes you should take, what honors classes you should take, how you should also balance your time to succeed in those classes. So we'll also cover the study strategies that you need in order to succeed in your academics and get the highest GPA possible while also balancing your high school situation. You will also walk away with the full extracurricular roadmap. So these are like tangible trackers and documents that you will walk away with that you can then use to shape your high school experience. So what internship should you take in sophomore year summer? What internship or what club should you be engaged in the first semester of junior year? How do you then grow in that club, and what activity should you be doing in the second semester of junior year? We are talking about tried and tested strategies and tried and tested methods that we have worked with and helped develop over the course, thankfully, over the last 7 years or so. And so we will share all of those secrets and all those tactics with you. So the detailed extracurricular roadmap, the internships, we're going to help you find those internships, help you find those activities, and at the very least, give you the skills to continue to do so as you continue along in your high school journey. We will also be talking about the list of colleges. And so you'll walk away with the list of colleges you should be applying to. What are your reach schools? You're kind of reaching for them based on your stats. What are your match schools, your goal schools? What are your backup and safety schools? This will be customized based on your GPA and your interests. And so not only will you learn about this entire process, but you will walk away with this entire list. And then also the list of majors that you should focus on. So based on your unique interests and your passions and your goals, what majors should you be applying to? What majors should you have as your kind of second choice, and so on. And then you will also walk away with a full resume that's ready for submission. So ready for your internships and then ready for submitting to jobs even when you begin college and beyond. So we're very, very excited for this course. We're really trying to jam pack what would be thousands of dollars worth of material into something that is accessible, into something that's still a live group, small coaching offering for you and for your students. And so just a couple of basic course FAQs. The course will be an 8-week live course delivered via 90-minute Zoom sessions. We're aiming for about 10 to 20 students per cohort. And so, once the cohorts fill up, we won't be taking any more students. So do sign up, and if you are interested. And we are trying to build a small kind of community feel so that students can really benefit from each other and benefit from the conversations that we'll be able to have. The course will be launching in April. The first date is April 4th, and we will be then doing it for 8 weeks after. So from April until about June, and it will have about 8 different sessions and modules where we cover the different topics that we just talked about, including assignments that you will have to do. Don't worry, they won't be boring homework assignments. They will be very, very interesting assignments that you can actually then take away and use for yourself and even for your younger siblings later on as you continue in your college journey. This course is ideal for students in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, and early 11th grade. If you are in late 11th grade or 12th grade, then we would recommend just talking to us about our one-on-one offerings. So we've also helped students, as we mentioned, write a lot of college essays. And so we work one-on-one with students. And if you are interested in those offerings, you can check out our website at successcompany.co, reach out to us, and we can also help you one-on-one come up with your college admissions plan, and then also help you with the different essays that you're going to have to write, depending on how many you will have to do. So, check it out. The class begins April 4th, as I mentioned, the over 10 to 15 hours of live instruction. And we're offering this at what we believe is a very, very solid price. So we're introducing it at $750. And if you would like and you enjoyed today's webinar, you can enter this code BayMuslim Media at checkout, and you can get $50 off. So it'll only be $700 to get access to all the different modules, to get access to all the information. You'll also get access to the trackers and everything it is that we're going to provide. And we're really committed to affordability and access. So if this is something difficult for you, just reach out. We want to make sure everybody who is interested and is able to afford it. So please reach out, and we will do our best, God willing, to make it work. And if you have any questions at all, just reach out. We're here to support you. You can call or text us at this number, 925-212-4487. Happy to field some questions there. You can schedule a free 10-minute consultation with us at this link right here, calendly.com/Sadia Saifuddin/consult. And we will, I think we can put that link in this bar that's moving. We can put this link here as well. So you can schedule a conversation with us literally immediately after this webinar today. Free consult. We'll talk about your situation. You can ask us about certain questions that you are facing or your student is facing. And you can ask us, oh, hey, is the course right for me? I want to learn more. And you can schedule more time with us if need be to learn about our other college application offerings and your unique situation. So with that, very, very interested in getting into the question and answer. Feel free to secure your spot now. You can go to the link that's posted here, successcompany.co/products. You can reach out to us via either Sadia's email or my email listed here, or you can text us and we will go ahead and answer whatever questions it is that you are fielding that you are sending over text. And with that, I think it makes sense for us to get into Q&A, and we will just kind of leave some of this information up for you to view. And yeah, thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and do question and answer. Ask any question about your high school experience or about anything, and then we will go ahead and do our best to answer. So we see somebody say, from which grade does GPA count? So your GPA will begin counting in 9th grade. 9th grade is the magic year for your GPA to count. Some schools factor in 9th grade, but they give more weight to 10th and 11th, but not all schools. So start focusing on it really in 9th grade. Thank you for the question. If SAT is optional for the upcoming admission cycle and a student ends up taking it, would it be to their advantage still? So if the student ends up taking it and it is a really, really good score, you could argue that it'll be to their advantage, but most likely if a college is waiving it, here's what they're gonna do. They're going to calculate all of the admissions possibilities without the SAT, because it's kind of unfair if one student can take it if COVID was better in their situation and it was bad in a different geography and another student couldn't take it. So I would not recommend using your time to do it if you don't think that there's really a need, or if the colleges you are applying to don't have a need. However, look at the college specific site, because not every college is waiving it. Some are, some might still have that requirement. So really think about it accordingly. please recommend some good SAT prep courses.
So our perspective is that you can take an SAT prep course if that's useful for you, but you absolutely don't have to. And we don't actively recommend specific courses because it's really by student basis and the way that your student studies, right, and does well. We've heard good things about Kaplan's course or Princeton's course. I've heard mixed reviews about Elite. Every geographic location also has a little bit of a different offering. So it's really based on your particular situation. What I advise for you is to start early, to get the book, and to dedicate at least 30 minutes a day going through the questions, going through the content, and make sure that you're practicing, because I think that will be much more useful for you than a very intense 6-week course that is basing its premise on cramming and having that information versus what has been proven cognitive science, which is that you do a little bit every single day so that you can retain that information.
Would an AP score of 3 during the pandemic look bad in a highly selective application? Would it be better to not report that? Good question. AP score of 3 depends on your school, but your colleges, when you submit one score via the College Board, they're generally going to see all of them. So I wouldn't really try to kind of pick one or another to submit. Look, if you get a 3 and you have other 5s, you should be fine. If you're kind of scoring in all the 3s, then the colleges are going to wonder, like, does this person really master the material? 1 3 is not a big deal, but all 3s is going to impact you.
Yeah, but I will also add one thing to note is that colleges don't have AP scores as in admissions criteria. They look at your SAT scores in usual times. They look at your grades and generally, right, on your GPA. Your AP score, if you get a 3 or above, it actually means that you qualify for college credit. So I would still submit that score because if you get into that school, that means that you'll waive that requirement. So 5 looks awesome. It's ideal. It's great. 4 is really good. But a 3 is still passing, so it's not a bad score. I would recommend you still submit it.
Okay,
so how to manage and still land in your dream college when I have to move out of the state and start junior 11th grade in a different state? So this is a great question. There are a lot of students that we've worked with that have had different paths where they've moved and they've had to readjust. And so this is really something that will come down to a few things. It will come down to your mindset about flexibility. It will come down to you being able to just take a deep breath, try something new, and be open to something new. And also, like, I would say, it's all about planning. So make sure that you take a step back and that you plan all of your classes. Be on top of it. Talk to your school counselor as soon as you transition so that you can get into the classes that you want to get into. If you're a student that is trying to take more challenging or advanced courses, be sure that you can actually register for them. And then I would say do the best that you absolutely can and leave the rest, to God, because I think that it's one of those situations. And the other thing is to remember is that if you're able to transition during this time and transition intentionally and mindfully, it's the kind of thing that you can talk about in your college applications and looks really, really interesting and unique to colleges. So it can actually work in your benefit.
If a high school offers the IB diploma, do you recommend taking it? Yeah, if you are able to manage the workload that's required with an IB diploma, I would definitely take it. International baccalaureate diplomas are just for those who don't know, they are a very competitive set of classes above AP even. They are hard. So, if you are able to do it, I would do it, yeah.
Yes, they are. UCs will be test blind for 2021 all the way to 2024. Yes. So for this new course, can anyone in this high school enter even if they are freshmen? Yes. This course is especially powerful if you are in 8th, 9th, or 10th grade. And if you're in 11th grade right now, you're near the end of 11th grade, talk to us about college application coaching. That's where that will be the most valuable for you. But if you're in 9th grade, this is absolutely perfect because it will give you everything that you need and front load all of the decisions that you need to make so that okay, next year, these are the classes I need to take. After that, I need to take the SAT. Here is my internship program, my resumes, my LinkedIn. You'll have all of that information early. So this is really good for you if you are a freshman. I hope you also support post 8 weeks till college admissions is done. I have a 9th grader. Yes, again, so Dream College is a perfect starting point. And then after that, we also have one-on-one coaching that we offer for people that are interested. So we can absolutely talk to you. I would recommend scheduling a consultation with us, and we can figure out what you're looking at, what kinds of questions that you have, what kind of support that you need, because we have one-on-one coaching packages as well.
Yeah, I think you can schedule a consultation. We can also post a link here for the consultation, or you can just reach out directly at 925-212-4487, and we're happy to talk to you. The one thing I'll mention is this is the first course for your entire college strategy. After that, if you feel like, okay, I want more, there will be more courses coming that will continue to further your experience. And then you really want some private attention, you want one-on-one support, of course, we'll be able to offer that. But the goal is that if you just take this course, you should not need too much more guidance, because you already have your entire strategy mapped out up until late 11th grade, where you will probably want some help for essays. Okay, so what do you think about pass and no pass subjects in schools? Will UC start accepting this? Does it look good in student transcript? So if the subject is available for grades, then definitely take it for grades. Pass, no pass is usually only like if you're taking PE, like physical education, or some course that's not highly relevant, then pass, no pass makes sense. Otherwise, it does not look good on student transcript if you're taking pass, no pass for critical courses. And the UCs will, quote unquote, accept it as, yeah, it's part of their, meaning you'll get credit for the course most likely, because all you need to do is pass. But technically, all you need to do to get a UC credit is a C, right? And that's passing. So that actually still will hurt your GPA. So UCs will wonder, why did you do pass, no pass? The time, though, that this matters is if you had a really tough semester and things were difficult, maybe because of COVID or some other situation, then you can do this, and you can talk about in the extra section of the college app, you can talk about pass, no pass. Difference between weighted and unweighted GPA. So as I was mentioning, weighted GPA is your GPA that includes all of the AP and honors courses, and it actually gives them a weight. Okay, so let's say that you have a student who takes 3 AP courses, and that's it, 3 AP courses and 3 regular courses. Their weighted GPA, if they get all A's, will show them as a 4.5. However, the unweighted GPA, what it's doing is it's trying to say, just put the weight aside, the AP and the honors weight aside. How did you do just in your classes? Did you get A's and B's? So what that'll show is if you get all A's, the unweighted GPA will just show a 4.0, right? Even though the AP classes were worth more because it's unweighted. But if you get B's, let's say 3 B's and 3 A's, the 3 B's were in your APs, you will get a 4.0 weighted, but your unweighted GPA will be a 3.5. So that's where the unweighted GPA matters. And highly selective schools want to see a 4.0 unweighted and a very high GPA weighted. So that's something to keep in mind. How does pass, no pass affect GPA? It does, well, so what it'll do is it'll just be like a blank in the GPA calculation. So without getting too technical, if you're taking 6 classes and they're calculating the GPA out of those 6 classes, they'll total up your grade weight for each class, and then they'll divide it by 6. For pass, no pass, it'll just be excluded, and they will divide it by 5. If that makes sense. So they will not include that class in the calculus. So that's why pass, no pass is not recommended unless it's for PE or, you know, wood shop or something that's like a random elective that you're taking just for fun.
This is a great question. This is the kind of stuff that we'll talk about in Dream College. So I would definitely recommend that if you want to go really deep for your particular situation, you check out the course. A couple of things to note is that scholarships are available on a campus basis. They're available in your community. They're available regionally, and some high schools also have unique scholarship opportunities. So I would definitely check out the Career Center if you have it at your high school. Oftentimes they will have like regional or local scholarships there. You can also like check online. There are a number of different like organizations, community organizations that offer scholarships, and also they can be career specific or identity specific. So check to see, you know, is there anything for my individual community that's being offered? You can find some really large corporate scholarships, but those can be really incredible or really difficult to get, even though they're quite great, because they're just very competitive. And then lastly, I would also check to see if the schools that you're applying to have leadership programs or particular merit scholarships that you can apply for. So for example, the University of California, many of the schools have what's called an Alumni Leadership Award, which can be $1,500 to $2,000 a year. That is one of the scholarships that I received. So I would say check out those courses or different like opportunities and different like venues, I would say, to research scholarships.
Yep. So another one here, we can just go ahead and move past this one. But if you do register for the course today, it's mentioned you'll get the $50 discount, BayMuslim Media. That discount will apply from today and tomorrow.
Is there anything a homeschooling student needs to be aware of? Yes, there are many things homeschooling students need to be aware of. All of my younger siblings are homeschooled, and 2 of them are actually UC Berkeley graduates. One of them is a UC Irvine computer science student, and so I'm very, very familiar with the homeschooling process. I would say the biggest thing that you need to make sure is that depending on your program, because there are many varieties of homeschooling, if you're doing creating your own curriculum, that's one thing. If you are going through a charter program or a set curriculum, that's another thing. So it really depends on your unique situation. I'd recommend scheduling a consultation for us to talk through it. But at a very high level, make sure that the classes that you are taking map to the schools that you want to go to. So that's why it's really important to do that pre-planning. It doesn't matter what grade you're in. Make sure that every single class you take, whether it's a community college class or an online class, you will receive college credit for that class. You don't want to be spending time doing classes that you won't get the credit for. And make sure that you are completing the basic requirements for the schools you'd like to apply to. So that's the biggest piece that I would tell you to think about.
In our course, depending on the number of students that are homeschooled, we will do separate Q&A and breakouts for homeschool students. So if you want to kind of dive deep, feel free to reach out, register for the course, or reach out for one-on-one conversations, and we can figure that out as well. Okay, how would you be able to decide a suitable major if you are interested in many unique fields that are not necessarily related, such as political science, cell biology, engineering, or art? Okay, so I was very much like this. I thought I wanted to study science, like biology, and be a doctor. I was also really passionate about politics, so I actually ended up entering UC Berkeley thinking I was going to major in political science. Then I had an interest in my mind about business and international relations, so I kind of explored those majors. So I totally understand this question. Couple of things. One is open yourself up to taking classes and watching videos and lectures even on YouTube or on masterclass or TED Talks about different subjects. See which one you really gravitate towards. The second is engage in activities that relate to these specific fields. So that relate to political science, that relate to cell biology, that relate to engineering, and see, okay, which one do I actually like getting hands-on with, right? Because that will be more than just academics. And third is think about, okay, what do I want to do after the major? So while the education in and of itself is for you to become a better person and get an education, there are obviously the opportunities you have to look at. What am I going to do after? What type of job? So I'll give you an example. Political science, I thought, was like, I'm going to just learn about politics, and I really like to read the news and whatnot. I didn't know, but I took a political science class and I learned that, it's actually about like all of the detailed history and science behind the political process. So how do you develop the Constitution? What's a social contract? All these types of things. And I wasn't as interested in that, so I was able to rule that out. When you take a class and you think about what you can do afterwards, that will help you narrow things down.
I want to add one more thing to that question before we move to the next question, is that informational interviews can be so powerful and so helpful. So find people who have majored in those things, your own community, people that your community knows. It doesn't have to be people that you know directly. You can go on LinkedIn. These are the kinds of questions we will help you figure out in the course, right? Like, well, how do I select a major? How do I plan backward? How do I approach people for informational interviews? And ask them, what did you like? What didn't you like? What were the different career opportunities that you were able to kind of evaluate because you majored in this? So I'll give you an example. I majored in social welfare, which has absolutely nothing to do with consulting, investing, or tech. And that is what my career has been. And so it's actually really helpful for people to talk about their unique experiences so that you know like what are the opportunities that are available to you in college and beyond. We can take the next question. If we were to do poorly in an AP class, like get a C, for example, how would college admissions officers view it, and what can we do to compensate for it? So if you already got a C in an AP class or otherwise, What colleges want to see is an upward trajectory. So say you didn't do so well in a particular course. How did you get better moving forward, right? Like next year or next semester, did you improve? Were you able to troubleshoot and figure out what didn't I do right, and how do I make sure that I do it differently the next time? That's what colleges care about. The other thing is that a part of the application, and almost every single application, is an additional comments section. So that's an area where you can talk about a grade that maybe you're not that proud of, or for example, maybe like you lost a family member, or you had a very stressful experience, or you yourself were unwell and that's why you didn't perform in that class. Or it could also just be, you know what, I wasn't ready for like the rigor of the course, and I actually learned about the rigor of the course and then I got better. You can actually talk about that particular grade in that section. And so it's not the end of your dreams or anything. You can still get into the school that you want to, but just have a little bit of reflection around it. Does volunteering in a masjid count? Absolutely. If you volunteer at a masjid or any faith community center, it totally counts. Just make sure that you are able to think about the impact that you have made. Try to take leadership positions as much as you can, and absolutely maximize that opportunity. When do the students have to start preparing and get the SAT done? My student is in 7th grade now. Great question. So I would recommend that you start to familiarize yourself as early as possible. 8th grade is a good time to start to think about the SAT. Because your student is in 7th and 8th grade, it's very likely that when they apply to college, the requirement might be back. So I would say 8th grade, start familiarizing yourself, start reading through the content. There will be content in the SAT prep book that your student just hasn't learned yet, and that's okay. But they can now start to get an idea of the kinds of information that they will learn so that they can really dive into the area that they might struggle with. And I recommend that students complete their SAT by the end of 10th grade. And that might sound a little bit aggressive, but the reason I say this is that for most students, junior year can be a really difficult and exhausting and busy year. You are taking many classes. In many situations, you are taking many APs or honors courses. And then right after that, you have to start thinking about college application. So it is better if you are planning early to finish taking that test in 10th grade so that in 11th and 12th grade, you can focus on the other parts of your overall profile. But you can take the test up until the November and December of your senior year when you're applying. So say you take the test and you aren't doing well, you can still take it up until that point. But since your student is in 7th grade, I would recommend you plan to take it by 10th or 11th grade.
What broadly applies to all students is to make sure you're spending ample time, even if you're not practicing specifically the SAT, you're spending time reading, you're spending time practicing writing, and you're reducing the amount of time you spend on social media, Netflix, television, and whatnot, because you want to increase your capacity to absorb large amounts of information and limit the things you're doing that will prevent you from doing that. Okay. I think there was another question after this one regarding, are students on H4 visas eligible for scholarships?
Every scholarship has its own eligibility requirements. So some scholarships will require that you are a citizen. Some scholarships will be open if you are on H4 or other visas. So I would say do some broad research because there's no one universal rule for this. If a college says SAT is optional, how should that be read? If it's optional, then I would say if you are able to take the test, take the test. Because there are other students who will be hustling to take the exam. If the college says they're test blind, I wouldn't take the test because they're not going to evaluate it because it would be unfair to evaluate yours versus mine, right? So if it's optional, take the test and make your absolute best effort to take the exam. And if you try, you register multiple times and it keeps getting canceled, then that's all right. It's not going to be the end for you, but definitely do make the effort. Very interesting and useful information for the students aspiring for college. Thanks a lot to the speakers and the organizers. Thank you. We are so excited and happy to be here, and we hope this is the first of many, God willing, workshops that we'll do.
Any limitations for students on H4 visa? If you're talking about with regards to applying to college, You may have tuition impacts when you are on a visa, but generally if you were a resident, right, then you are going to probably be okay. It's really on a case-by-case basis. It depends on the student, or sorry, depends on the college, depends on the state that you're in, and it depends on if you're going to community college or you're going directly to a 4-year. So we would probably want to get more context here. And for the students we work with one-on-one, we do help them kind of navigate these things. But broadly speaking, if you are on any type of visa and you are on your path towards permanent residency, God willing, you should be in a good spot.
Yeah, I would recommend, since there are a couple of questions about this, I would recommend scheduling a consultation, and we can dive a little bit deeper into it. And you can do that at calendly.com/Sadia Saifuddin/consult.
If we are in 11th grade, should we email you? Yes, if you are interested in your essays, please do email us. We help students in 11th grade, starting actually now, we're already getting students that we're starting to work with, map out their college essay plan, the college they're going to apply to, and then we actually start working with them on essays as soon as like April or May. So definitely email us, reach out. You can either email sadia@successcompany.co or reach out at the number 925-212-4487. Feel free to text and we can respond.
Yeah, and this is like incredibly important for all of you to think about. I know it feels like college applications are far away. We're only in March. I get calls this year. I started getting calls for college application work in January. So it is something you should be thinking about baking in the right time. So please do reach out. If you're considering early college instead of a regular high school, would this help in college admissions? So I'm going to guess that maybe you're thinking about like an early start or middle college program. I would say everything is on a case-by-case basis. It still comes down to how well you perform in your academics, whether you still do the extracurriculars. All of those things still apply. And if anything, because you're taking a bit of a non-traditional path, you will have your own like unique things that, you need to maybe dive into and pay more close attention to. So for your unique situation, I would totally recommend scheduling some time and we can answer questions for that. I would say if you master this, if you do really well, if you're intentional about what classes to take, you can actually do really, really well. Some of our students that have done early college, middle college type programs have actually gone to college earlier than their peers, and they've been able to complete college earlier than their peers. But it's all about planning and making sure that you're taking the right classes. And if you are taking community college classes in an early college program, you have to be especially careful about thinking about what you want to major in if you want to be very competitive. And so that's why it's important to have some of those conversations.
An IB diploma is an international baccalaureate diploma that's offered to students who complete a certain number of IB courses that their high school offers. Now, many high schools in America do not offer IB courses, thus they do not offer an IB diploma, but they do offer AP courses. And so you can take those and many times there's an AP diploma associated with that. But I wouldn't worry too much about the IB aspect if your school doesn't offer it because you won't be evaluated on it. What do schools look for from STEM perspective for technology education? So I guess I think what the question is if you are interested in studying STEM, what are they looking for? Sadia, is that how you would read the question?
That's how I would read the question. So yeah. For our students that have gotten into engineering and computer science schools, which are usually separate institutions within their school, so they have their own unique requirements, most schools will look for making sure that you've done the SAT subject test in math and science. And again, case-by-case basis, so make sure you do your research and you plan backwards. And they're also looking to see how have you developed these skills outside of the classroom. So say you've taken a Python course, or say you've taken a Java course, but have you done actual extracurricular or internship work experiences? So the kinds of the projects that our students have worked on are they've created an app. Or I've actually had a student who created a medical adherence app, which was really all about like helping seniors make sure that they can take their medication on time, right? Like if the caregivers live far away. Very interesting problem that they're trying to solve for. So those are the kinds of things, like if you're interested in science, have you done research, right? Like have you maybe shadowed professors or participated in research, which is another activity that we help our students do. So they're really trying to see, what have you learned in the classroom? what have you learned outside of the classroom? And the students who always do the best are the ones who have really rich extracurricular experiences to back up their interest in STEM.
What are your thoughts on GPA deflation in college, especially for pre-med? I'm a senior right now and I'm waiting on college decisions, so I'm thinking ahead for making my college decision, UC versus privates. So you're talking about your GPA deflation in college, like once you actually get to college. I think that's what you're probably talking about. And then how that will impact pre-med majors. If you want to clarify that, feel free to, but that's what I'm going to assume. So I would not worry too much about GPA deflation, because what eventual medical schools will do, and what jobs will even do, whatever you end up doing after, is they will evaluate you based on other students who went to your school, and they have a general sense of the standards for that school. So they know, like, okay, this school is like super easy with certain classes and very difficult with others. And this school is just like difficult all around. Like, let's say UC Berkeley's organic chemistry course is known to be like one of the hardest courses out there in the school, versus, let's say, MIT, almost all the courses might be more difficult, right? So you just have to kind of weight it accordingly. I would not really factor this into your college admissions decision. Think about the culture that you want to have. Think about the type of impact that you want to get from the college, the experiences you want to gain, and then what you want to do afterwards. Do you teach students how to navigate LinkedIn and build a LinkedIn profile? Yes, we do. We teach students we help them build their resume in our course. We will then help them translate that resume into a LinkedIn profile. We do career guidance and career consulting, and we actually incorporate that into our high school and college admissions guidance. So yes, end to end, that's an area, thankfully we are very, very experienced in, and we will help you out. What are your thoughts on summer educational programs versus volunteering opportunities? Sadia, go ahead on this one.
Yeah, so again, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier in the extracurricular section, is what are your unique passions, skills, values, goals, and then what are the activities that support those aspects of who you are. And so it's not like, oh, if you do a summer program, you look better than you're doing a volunteer opportunity, but I would recommend that you think about having some balance in your profile. So say you've done a ton of volunteering and maybe a summer educational program will be a stretch or a new goal for you, then that's actually a good way to think about it. One thing I would advise to be careful of is that when I was in high school, we would get all of these free pamphlets of $2,000, $3,000 summer courses or summer educational programs. A lot of those aren't real. They're scams. So just make sure that you're vetting the summer educational program, whatever it might be, to make sure it's legit, that it's actually affiliated with an institution, that there are students who've gone through it. Make sure that you read your reviews, but it's not like one is better than the other. It's really dependent on the student.
And the way, just be careful about what are marketed as summer leadership programs. Be very, very careful about those, because many times they are just ways to make money. Yeah. What unweighted GPA minimum would you say to get into UC Davis or other UCs? Minimum? So here's the thing about minimums, right? UC GPAs can fluctuate from 3.0s to 4.0s, and you will have students, depending on the rest of their profile, get in. However, the averages we're talking about, let's say unweighted averages for Davis and other UCs, you're going to want to shoot for above a 3.75 average or higher, because it shows an A- above average that you've gotten. And weighted would be closer to 4.0 to 4.5 for the competitive UCs.
Yeah, sure. So can you talk about the TAG program for getting into UC Davis, computer science and engineering? So I will have to double check to see if they have excluded computer science programs from TAG, because some of these schools have such an influx of applications that, we're not really sure how they're treating computer science programs as a part of TAG. But basically what a TAG program is that if you receive a minimum GPA of 3.6, 3.5, whatever it is, there's some minimum GPA, then you will automatically, as a junior, as a transfer student, be eligible for admission, guaranteed admission into that particular school. So that's the way it is. Every school is a little bit different. I know some schools don't do TAG, like UC Berkeley, UCLA, don't really do TAG because they're already so competitive. competitive. UC Davis might be headed in that direction. Every year it's a little bit different. So I would recommend to see what are the policies for this particular year, and specifically if they allow it for computer science and engineering.
If I'm in 10th grade and need to start studying for SAT, do you think I should, even though COVID is here? Do you believe it is good to take even though it is waived? If you are in 10th grade, I would plan for the SAT. It depends on the school. If you're applying only to UCs, you might not necessarily need to focus on the SAT. But if you are applying to other schools, I would not expect every school to keep a test blind approach as the year continues. This year, vaccines are happening. So by the time you apply, it'll be almost 2 years from now, like roughly 1 year and 8 months from now. It's likely that they are recommending the SAT, so I would study for it. I would come up with a strategy. And if you want to learn more about the strategies, check out our course or reach out to us one-on-one, and we're happy to talk about your different planning strategies as well. Thanks, Sadia and Shahryar, for sharing insights with us. Of course, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Great session, alhamdulillah. I feel like parents should be aware of how to guide their kids through these processes. Are there any resources that could help parents get a heads up and be on the same page? Great question. So we are actually, in addition to the course that we provide, we have ways to help parents learn more about the process. And we will actually provide parents some like general tips and guidance and resources throughout the course. It's meant for students, but we kind of provide them the course and the access. We also have free ebooks on our site. If you go to our website, you can download a free ebook. You just have to enter in your email and whatnot, and there's information to help parents specifically. And then our information on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram is very much to help parents get a sense of this process and resources. And then lastly, if you want to reach out, work with us one-on-one, we do this holistically. So our approach is let's help the whole family. It's helping the parents and helping the students. So we will have conversations with parents and with students, whether that's in our course or whether that's in our one-on-one offerings. So feel free to reach out if you have more interest in this. How much does doubling up on classes actually help? I don't know what you mean by doubling up. If you could just clarify. If you mean taking like 2 science classes and 2 math classes at once, it helps to the degree that you are able to do well. The general formula, if you can do well and handle something, it's a good thing, but don't overdo anything, right? Balance is always important. However, if you are not going to do well and doubling up on a science or math is going to hurt you, I would not do it. Just stick to the bare amount that you need and do well in your extracurriculars and your other areas.
You're on mute, Shahryar. So the question is, how important is the ACT right now? So again, we mentioned it earlier, right? So it depends on the school that you're applying to. If you're applying to schools in California, particularly UCs and CSUs, they have waived this requirement until 2024. So you don't have to worry about it if you're applying before then. For all other private schools, it's a case-by-case basis. Some are still requiring it, some are waiving it. So it really just depends on what schools you're applying to.
Does taking classes in Berkeley for middle schoolers count? If you're talking about the programs that like a Berkeley or other schools will have set up to help you, they count to the sense that they improve your education and give you education and they improve your overall like ability to perform well. But that won't really matter on your actual admissions profile, no, because it's too early on. Really what they care about is stuff starting in late 8th grade up until your end of your high school. Just doing science camp for middle schooler, example, girls engineering count. Again, that one can help because it will help you. Science camp and other camps will help you get on a progression path. And the goal is that by the time you enter 9th grade, you are doing an activity and then growing, becoming a leader in an activity, becoming the eventual president of an organization. That's part of your goals. So to the degree you can get a head start on that, for sure. But to the degree that it's just for like a resume, it will be irrelevant in middle school, essentially.
One thing I will add for this question, and before we move to the final question, is that no learning is ever wasted. And that's the perspective that we take. Like all learning is useful and it will come in handy at some point, whether it's the skills that you develop while you're learning or whether it's the actual content. So one thing to keep in mind is that always have that intention of that I want to learn for college and beyond, and actually getting exposure to things like particular supplemental programs like engineering, girls in coding, things like that is really helpful because it gives the student an idea of, do I actually like this? Is this something I'd like to pursue? And it makes it easier for you to actually qualify for the more competitive programs that will come later in high school. So you can actually say, I did Girls That Code in middle school, and that will look really good. So I would say it's all about intention and it's about the particular program.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for all of the people who are saying thanks. We appreciate it. We appreciate you taking the time out to join, and we look forward to hopefully having a chance to work with you. Thank you so much as well.
Wonderful. So last thing before everybody drops, thank you. Definitely check out Dream College, because we will be able to get very, very specific with every single student. You're going to get one-on-one attention with us, which we do still on a one-on-one basis, but this is a much more affordable opportunity. And the other thing is that this discount code of $50 off is only valid until Tuesday. So you can take advantage of it today and tomorrow. So if you have questions, please text or email us or set up a consultation, because after Tuesday, this discount code will expire. So this is a limited time opportunity, and we would love to work with you. So we're excited. Thank you again for all of the co-sponsors, and God willing, we will see you all soon.
Thank you so much to BayMuslim Media, and for everybody. We really appreciate you all taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Shahryar and Sadia. Viewers, let's give a big round of applause for both the presenters. They have loaded with all the questions that you have asked, all the answers. And Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much. Hopefully, in the future we will definitely have you for a different presentation for both parents and students, right? So with that, once again, thank you very much on behalf of BayMuslim Media and other co-sponsors, Naima, North American Indian Muslims, and Jamal Mohamed College Alumni Association of North America, and of course your own company. Thank you again, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Goodbye to everyone.
Bye, everyone.